Okay, the point of this film is to help you understand how do I start a project in Premiere? What do I do? It seems like there's a lot of folders being created. I got to do all kinds of steps. So this video is to help you out step by step on how to begin your project. So the very first thing you want to do is you want to open up Premiere. So I'm going to go down to my Windows icon and I'm just going to type in Premiere, and you have Adobe Premiere Pro CS6. Click on that. Now, as Premiere opens up, I do want to tell you a little bit about Premiere. Everything that you put into the project is somewhere on the network or on your computer. Premiere Pro does not save any actual files itself. So keep that in mind when you're working on this. Okay, so we're going to create a new project. So click on New Project, and you'll get all this stuff about asking you for a new project. Really, the most important thing is that we change our location. So I'm going to hit Browse, and I'm going to go find my folder in my portal. So I'm going to click on Desktop, Video Club Portal. It's probably the second one. If you only have one, then that's the one you should click. Click on that, go to our class, and so find your name, and I just plug my name into this class. And I'm going to create a new project. So this is my, let's say, my third project I'm working on. So I'm going to call it 03 period, and we'll just call this new project. You would obviously name it the project that you're working on. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to create 3 new folders. I'm going to create a footage folder. I'm going to create an audio folder, and I'm going to create a project folder. Great, 3 folders, and I'm going to go into the project because this is where I want to save my project at. And I'm just going to hit select folder down here. So then I'm going to go right into name. I'm going to put my name, dot, and then the name of the project. So in this case, it's new project. All right, and then I just hit OK, and off we go. Then it's going to ask us what kind of sequence settings we want. Remember, we want the AVC HD, 1080p, AVC HD 1080p 24. Make sure that's the one selected. Usually that will be the first one that comes up, but just in case, this is the one you want to go with. All right, hit OK. And it's going to create our new project for us. All right, beautiful. Now, you might have your settings a little bit differently. I always like having this the way set up. So let me go ahead and set it up in the default mode so that you know how to change things around. So I'm just going to hit Reset Current Workspace, hit Yes. You don't have to do this, but your program might end up looking like this. And sometimes I like to have in the top left-hand corner, I like having my project panel up there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this and pull it over so I get a purple prism on my left-hand side. I'm going to let go, put it there, and yeah, I like this right up here and leaving this for any other purposes that I'm working on. Okay, now I'm ready to import my footage. So I'm going to take my SD card out of my camera and I'm going to stick it into the card reader of my computer. And eventually, I should get a pop-up window that looks something like this. It's going to say Canon. Mine says F. Yours might have another letter on there. And what you simply want to do is you want an open folder to view files. So I click on that. And what you want to do is you might only have private that shows up, but sometimes you might have 2 come up. I want you to click on private, AVC HD, BDMV, and then stream. Okay. And then what you're going to see is that all of your video files under our cameras, they use MTS files. And you're going to look all the way down and you're going to see all this footage. So let's say that I was only using this camera on February 3rd of 2015. And it looks like somebody else was using the camera on February 4th of 2015. So I'm just going to select everything from the February 3rd. And what I want to do is I want to drag this and I want to put it into my footage folder. But right now my footage folder is not open. So I like leaving my window either on the right side or the left-hand side, but enough space so that I can open another window over here. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into my Windows icon. I'm going to click on Computer. And I'm going to slide this over so that I have 2 windows that I can look at. And I'm going to click on Desktop. find my Video Club portal, find my class, find me, go to my new project that I just created, and this time I'm going to open up footage because this is where I want to store my footage at. And then I'm just going to drag all my footage over on the right-hand side and bring it right into my footage folder. Now, it depends on how long you film for, but if you only film for a couple minutes, this shouldn't take too long. It looks like this footage is just a little bit more than or a little less than a gig. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit out of this, and then I'm going to come right down here, and I'm going to look for this little USB with a green check mark. I'm going to click on that, and it's going to ask me to eject my Canon card. Please make sure you eject the Canon card first. So I eject it, and then I can simply just take my card out of my card reader and put that right back in the camera where it belongs. And beautiful, great. So now I have all my footage, but we talked about this before, that this footage, everything is named from 00000.mts. And well, the cameras record a bunch of these file names the same, so we should change this up. So to do that, we're going to bring it into Bridge. So I'm going to go back into my Windows icon, and I'm just going to type in Bridge. You might have CS6 and then a CS6 64-bit. I like using the 64-bit, so click on that one. And depending on when the last time your computer was restarted, this might take a while for it to come up. So here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to bring this back to the desktop. And I want to go find where my footage is. Now, there's two ways to do it. You can do it the old way, where we can go ahead and we can try to find our Video Club portal, find our class, find yourself, find the project, find the footage. Yes, you can do it that way. And it might look like there's nothing happening, but right now, because we're using the network, it's taking some time before our footage actually shows up. Okay, so what we're going to do is another way to do this would be, let me go back to my desktop. And another way to simply do this would be to go back into my footage from my actual window, and watch this. I can actually click up here and copy the name of the folder. So everything up here, so Autobot02/department/Video Club, the whole thing. I'm just going to select all of it, right click, hit copy, making sure that everything's highlighted up here, and watch this. Now I go back in the Bridge, and up here where it says desktop, on the blank spot up here, if I just click it, it's going to ask me, hey, do you want to go to another certain folder? And I can easily do that by simply right clicking, hitting paste, and hitting enter. And now I've got all my footage from the files that I was working on. Okay, so now I want to rename all of this stuff over here. So to do that, I'm just going to hit Control-A to select all my footage. If there's only a certain amount of footage that you want to use, you can lasso it, though I do think this takes a little bit more time to do it this way, but I know how much you guys love to do the lasso. So you could do it that way, or another way to do it would be to click my first clip, and while I slide down, I'm going to press the Shift key and go to my last clip. And if I do that, it's going to select everything in between, like that. Okay, so I got everything selected because I don't really want this. It doesn't matter. And so I'm going to go up to Tools, Batch Rename, and I'm going to rename all my shots. So first thing, I'm going to name it after myself, Matt.Sella. And then I'll name the project. So I'll call it new.project. And then I'm going to change my sequence number to 1. And I'm going to make sure that I have new extension, and it says .mts. If this is not there, we're going to mess up the structure of your video clips, and Premiere is not going to be able to read it. So this is important that it says .mts. So I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to click on Rename. And it might take a few seconds, and the more clips you have, the longer it takes. But eventually, all your clips will reappear, and you will have a new name. So Matt Sella, new project, and look at that. This is 001, the next clip's 002, third clip's 003, and so forth. And it should go all the way down, and it looks like we created 35 clips. So this is great. So I'm done with Bridge now, so I'm just going to click out of Bridge. Great, and now if I look into my folder, oh, beautiful. Look at that. Everything's renamed. So what I can do is I can select all this. So I'm just going to click on the first clip, and then holding Shift down, I'm going to go to my last clip, and it's going to select everything. I could lasso everything, or I could hit Control A. Either one will work. Or I could go back, and I could just take the footage, that footage folder, and drag and drop it inside of Premiere. How easy is that? So now it's going to import my footage, and it looks like we had 35 clips, so it shouldn't take too long. The more clips you have, the longer it's going to take. So we're just going to wait till this gets to 100%. All right, so now we're done. So since we brought it in like a file, it's actually going to create a file for us. Now, if you didn't do it that way, it's probably going to look more like this. Let me just exit out of here, delete this footage bin, and paste it in like that. Yours might look a little bit more like that. I always like keeping everything in bins to keep everything nice and neat. So I'm just going to select this, select the bottom one by holding down Shift, so I select all of them, and I'm just going to drag this and drop it into a brand new folder, or what Premiere calls a bin. And so in the bin, I'm going to just call this footage. Sometimes you have to write it twice. I don't know why it does that. And so I can minimize this, and so now I know all my footage is in there. So I want to bring my footage down here so that I can make my in and out points inside of my source monitor. So to do that, I'm going to double click on the folder. It's got to be the folder. If I double click this, it's going to give me some problems. So sometimes you just double click this, the actual icon, and then under the tab, not this, you don't want to drag that tab, this tab where it says bin, I'm going to drag this and I'm going to bring it down to the bottom, making sure that I see a purple square. I'm going to let go, and now all my footage is in there. And now I can double click on the first clip, and I can make my in and out points. And so that's pretty much it. All right. Now I want to show you some things that I've seen students do, and they've made terrible, terrible mistakes. So mistake number one would be this. So I'm going to, actually, I'm just going to delete all of this stuff right here. And I'm going to show you what some students' mistakes that they have made. So what they've done is this. So they go ahead, they take their card out of the camera, and they go ahead and they stick their card inside of the card reader, and they open up their footage. So they go to Private, AVCHD, PDMV, Stream, and let's say they grab their footage, and this is a huge no-no, but people still do it. They take their footage, and what they're going to do is they're going to drag it, but they don't bring it into their own folder. They bring it right into Premiere. They're going to bring it right in. All right, so now we brought all our footage in, and we brought in directly from the card. This is a huge no-no, and here's the reason why it's a no-no. First of all, you notice that nothing is renamed, so that's a problem. So we definitely want to rename it, but we never brought the footage into our folder yet. Here's why that's a problem. So let me just click on a clip, and here's one. And let's just say I make my in and my out points of this, and I'm just going to drag this into my timeline. And so we got a clip, and let me zoom in a little bit more. And this is great. All right, so you start editing, and maybe you're working really, really hard, and the bell rings, you got to end. So it's like, oh, I got to take the card out of the card reader and put it back in the camera. Well, here's what happens. So I pull the card out of the card reader. All right. Suddenly, I get a media offline, red letters, and it's asking me, yo, where is the file located? Where did you put it? I'm looking for clip 00000.mts. Well, here's the problem. It was on the card the whole time, and you put it back in the camera, and who knows, somebody might delete your card, you might misplace the camera. This is just very, very sloppy organization. In fact, there's no organization at all. So please don't do it this way. Please. Another mistake that I've seen students do is they bring their footage into Bridge. So I'm just going to bring it into Bridge. They go into their footage, and let's say we're going to rename them. And they go to Tools, they go to Batch Rename, and they don't make sure that the new extension is .mts. I'm just going to click out of that. And so they go ahead and they do it, and they hit Rename. And you think, oh, okay, it works. Look, see, it has my name, it's got my project, it's got the number, everything's good. Well, yeah, Bridge can read your file. Premiere cannot. So here's what happens. I go back into Premiere. Let me delete all this. Let's go right-click. Let's go to Import. Let's go find our new project. Let's go into Footage. And you're saying to yourself, wait a second, I know there's footage in here. Where'd it go? I mean, Bridge says there's footage. In fact, let me bring it up in my actual window. Let me go to my footage. Yeah, it's right here. Look at all this footage that I have here. I try to bring it back into Premiere, but Premiere's not recognizing. All right, well, Premiere doesn't know what it's doing. So I'm just going to go into my window, and I'm going to drag, and I'm going to drop this in. And let's see what happens. It's going to drag it and say, yo, failure import. What's going on? What happened? These are video clips. Well, because you changed the name, it's no longer .mts, so it doesn't recognize what it is. In fact, it's saying that it's a Project 36 file, whatever that's supposed to mean. So what I could do is I could go back in, and for each clip, I could go to the end and hit .mts. You sure you want to change the file extension? Yes. And now it's a video clip, and I can drag that in, and Premiere is going to recognize it. Okay? But you don't want to be doing that for all of your clips. So another way to quickly fix that is to make sure all of them are selected, go back into Tools, go to Batch Rename, and let's go ahead and make a new extension, and we're going to call it .mts. Very important that you put the dot in front of it. I'm going to change the sequence back to 1, and I'm going to rename it, and everything's back to normal. I can exit out, and you'll see into my window, everything is .mts. It's a regular video again, and I can drag and drop that into Premiere, and it will recognize it. Okay, so this video was just really how to set up a project. Had nothing to do with what to do once the project was open, but it's just a way to simply get started. Hopefully this video was helpful.